maybe add myself. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Diabolical Souls Presents. Welcome 2024. I'm loving it so far. I got lots planned out, and I'm really excited to have to interview this guest. I have wanted him on for quite a while. He's said he wants to come on, so he's on tonight. So we're going to be interviewing him tonight. I want to say thank you for everyone in 2023. You guys were awesome. I appreciate every one of you guys. I never thought I'd be doing this. I honestly mean that. I never thought I'd be on YouTube doing this kind of stuff. Never thought I'd be showing this ugly mug in front of everyone and talking to everyone. And I really appreciate all the kind words and everyone that supported me. I love it. And I will put out great content and great interviews and some great wild shows that I got coming up. And some videos. I'm working on a video right now. Crazy. Who would have thought? And I'm just scripting out the final pages for my new book, Diabolical Souls. So look out for that. It's going to be a great story. Really excited to get that one out. And also, I want to say, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Diabolical Souls Presents. That'd be greatly appreciated. And hit that little notification, and that might help when we're on. Everyone in the chat tonight, thank you for joining us. Caleb, thank you, buddy. Let's go, Jay. The Gourd King, he's here. Gask, I'm scared. Yeah. CLS, thanks for joining us. Taco Tuesday, interesting. Seeing it's Wednesday. Oh, and Caleb says on Wednesday. Down for breaking the rules. And and we'll probably have a flood of more people coming in as the show gets going here. But first, I want to bring on this gentleman. He has he's got to do something really quickly here. Give me take a couple minutes here. No, I'll talk about what we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about this man's career. This guy has been a director. He's been a acting coach. He has been a writer, script writer, and he's come up with this book here. Right here, 1988. It is a teenage journal of film, love, and loss. I've read it. It's a 300-page. It's a great story. It's very interesting. It's pretty raw for someone to do. It's pretty interesting that this guy has a great name to him, and he put out this book. And I can't wait to get started. And the man himself is here, so let's bring him on. Lance Nielsen. Lance, are you there?
I am. It's pronounced Nielsen, the Danish.
Nielsen.
I'll put my camera on. There we go.
Yeah, okay.
I
knew I was going to screw that. But I want to get to this.
Good. Yeah, look. That's a young me on the cover there.
Yes.
2 years ago.
More pictures right there. But before we get into that, sir, thank you so much for coming on. I know we've met a few times. I've been on your channel. We had a great time. And there's Stepenzo. Thanks for joining us there, Enzo.
I
had a great time doing that trivia, and that was, I think, the very first time me and you actually got to talk, and it was great. I actually really enjoyed that, and we've had some great conversations since then. I hope you are looking forward to 2024.
I mean, I went to a nightclub to see it in with a friend of mine, and it was a 70s, 80s, and 90s music night. So we got to dance away to like Aha, Take On Me, and all those kinds of things.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. But when we both came back, because he was staying over here because he lives out of London, I said, "You're feeling apprehensive about 2024, aren't you?" And he said, "Yeah, really feeling like the weight of pressure." And I think it's everybody always puts these big positive posts on their social media about this is what I achieved in 2023 and 2024. I'm going into it the first week really positive. Here's me down the gym and all that kind of thing. It's not very cool or trendy to go, actually, I'm shitting myself and I'm really worried about a lot of things. But I think that's a fair assessment of where I'm at with it, because I've got bills coming up the wazoo. The cost of living in the UK has gone through the roof. I'm having a dispute with my utility service provider over the gas and electric. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. All of that kind of stuff is in my orbit right now. And then outside of that, you're trying to be creative and have a life and stay positive. And juggling all those balls is, not always easy. And YouTube has been a big, what what's the right word? It's been a big, it's been a good,
Like a sounding board, a
it's
good.
been a big. No, I don't go too personal on YouTube, but it's been a good constant in my life to keep me kind of. I've got that, and I need to get up to do that, and I need to focus on that, and that's been really helpful for me in the last couple of years, because the last couple of years have been really challenging. So yeah, so YouTube's been a bit. I never thought I'd be doing this.
Yeah, neither did I. Well, you just finished 2 hours and 45 minutes with Dennis McGuire.
Yeah,
And that was a great
first
interview.
AD.
Yeah, and like I said in the back room, you could have gone 8 hours with that guy, if not more,
Oh,
with
I
all the
mean,
content there.
I think we were both quite tired by the end of it, but in the best possible way. By the way, Michael Sarah's watching. That's good. Gord King.
Nice.
Just say hello to him. He's in the chat.
Yeah, Michael Sarah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I kind of when my YouTube channel started becoming a thing, it was really in lockdown. And the Outcasts Creative was actually the name of the acting class we were running. And so I just changed my channel to the name of that. And then we started doing live streams of performances, because what we were doing was all the actors that I knew were really kind of quite depressed. And we started doing read-throughs of scripts. And in fact, I know you bought the Diamonds in the Sky book, which I'm sure we'll come back to. But one of the things we did in lockdown was I wrote all 10 episodes of the first season of the TV show of that.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason that I was able to write them was because by the time we had got onto that, we'd probably read 10, 15 scripts on Zoom. I had 25 people coming on for every one of these read-throughs. They were really popular. There was more people than we could fit on. And I was running out of scripts. So I thought, I'll write the Diamonds in the Sky pilot. And we read that one Tuesday, and everybody was like, oh yeah, we're doing episode 2 next week, right? And I was like, yeah, of course we are. Haven't written it yet, but yeah. And each episode's 55 pages. So by the time we did episode 2 the following week, which I wrote in a week, I was actually already halfway through 3. And by the time we did a read through of episode 3, I was on 5. And by the time we did 5, I was on 7. And by the time we did 7, I just finished 10. And I never had such a great creative time. I was writing 22 pages a day in lockdown. And in that year, 2020, I wrote 30 screenplays in total. 20 of them were episodes of shows. I think there was 3 pilots and a couple of plays, and the rest were feature films. Some of them were rewrites of old scripts. I think about 3 or 4 of them were rewrites, but most of it was new. And I'd never written that many scripts in such a short space of time. Now, of course, I'm trying to sell some of them, which is a lot harder, you know. But
Well, I've had the privilege of you seeing your trailer, which you kind of had me edging and, you know, tickling me there with some great visuals with your script. I was like, seriously? Like, that's going to end right there? Like, come on, dude. This looks good.
Was that the Diamonds in the Sky shorts?
Yeah, Diamonds in the Sky.
Right. Yeah, they were.
Hey, Jacob.
Hey, Jacob, good to see you. Diamonds in the Sky is science fiction novel series that I actually wanted to do as a TV series. And there's been quite a lot of science fiction TV series about invasions of Earth from aliens, inside, outside, interdimensional, this, that, and the other. I wanted to do a show where aliens arrived, but they didn't tell us why they were here. And we couldn't do anything to stop them, but they also weren't doing anything to hurt us. But their mere presence would force the world to change, but would also force the world into conflict. And that's really what the book series is about. And I wanted every character to be from a completely different background, different ethnicity, because I wanted a wide cross section of
Yeah.
society. And the funny thing is, I wrote a trans character in there, and I wrote this book in the first draft of characters and things in 2015. So this is quite, way back before it was trendy to have trans characters in it.
Yeah.
I wanted a trans character in the novel because I thought I had a trans friend who was murdered, and they were a real character. They were a lovely person, Naomi Cersei, her name was, and
you mentioned her at the end of this book in
yeah,
1988.
and I decided to base the character on her and
Oh, that's a
another
shame.
trans friend of my ex-wife's, and I just thought this will be an interesting character. This will be an interesting character based on a real person. All the characters in the book are based on real people, so because I think that makes them more real. And I just so it wasn't about box ticking, but I wanted that cross section of society, and I wanted those conflicts to be explored within that story.
Well, I want to circle back to you mentioning that you don't like putting your personal life out there, and
Well, I
and
suppose I did with not in my YouTube streams, but
Well, yeah, but in this book here, 1988, and I just got to say, reading this book really opened up my eyes to. I know my buddy Jason Tyler McLean, wrote a book of One Drop of Water, talking about him wanting to commit suicide, and gets into the world of mental health, and it was kind of a parallel to me. Like I had very dark times in my life and struggles, and it hit
I
home
can tell
for
from
me.
the opening sequence of your show.
Yeah, I live in the dark.
I'm thinking like, Jesus Christ, what show am I coming on here? What is this?
Well, I went with the movie intro.
No,
I
yeah.
could have gone with the other one, the anime one.
I'm kidding.
I know.
Very atmospheric. Have me on my, But,
I like the mind to wander and get excited for what's to come. That's why I do that. But your book is very similar to his book, where you really put yourself out there in a way that is so raw, and you're just out there expressing who you are at that time. And I find that really, like,
well,
bravo.
I mean,
It's you don't see that from, like, especially someone like you that has a lot of credits with your name, and you're building something more right now.
not as many as I would like.
Well,
But,
no, but I mean, still, like, you have a name, right? And
yeah,
you put yourself out there in a book where it talks about a lot of things that you don't see, especially for men. We're roughly the same age. Men, like, showing these kind of emotions at that time was definitely a no-no.
no, it was, and I mean, I didn't show them to a lot of people, but that's why I had so this is the original diary, and the reason for writing this book was I had a brain aneurysm back in, I think it was about 2004, which also caused this scar on my thumb. Happened at the same time, if you can see that.
Yeah.
And had a big blood clot in my brain the size of a golf ball. And
Nice.
I collapsed. I had a stroke, which is why my mouth is slightly lopsided if you look. And this was around 2004. I was in a coma for about an induced coma for a few weeks, and in intensive care for the best part of 3 months. And when I came out of that, huge sections of my memory were missing. I mean, we're even talking, like, there's a play that I have in my portfolio that I can't remember directing. I mean, I can remember that I directed it, but I can't remember anything about it. I don't have any specific memories of it at all. So anyway, and then around a couple of years ago, somebody called a friend of mine who was at art college with me, she's mentioned in the diary, called D, or Davina, contacted me, and hey, nice to see you, Jana Banana. I love the name. And I couldn't remember her, and that was the sort of nucleus for the project, because around that same time I found this diary. And it's so weird because it's it's the year that I went to the States. So it's even got things like these tickets, you know, and inside. I've also got in the diary a newspaper pullout from the cinema where I went to see all these movies on my day off in America.
Die Hard, was that
The Blob, big Coming to America, Midnight Run, fantastic film. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was the #1 movie at that time.
Yeah.
And you know, and there's a whole load of stuff. And the other thing I did was, like, I wrote down a list. This is part of the list of all the movies I saw that year. And,
yeah, there's 135 movies, I think you said, or 134 movies, or something like that.
I think it's 137.
Okay.
I think, and that didn't include some of the rewatches. That was mainly films that I saw for the first time that year, either at the cinema or for the first time on video. It didn't include films that I'd seen at the cinema a year earlier and rented out again on video. But I think I do give some of them a mention, like The Untouchables and stuff like that. Oh, that's Copa's wife. Okay, nice to see you. So this is the kind of thing I had written in the diary, and I don't do a close up of it because I don't want people to read it in case I've censored any of it, because I did censor some stuff. But
yes, you did. I know one story that you censored, and we talked about.
Yeah. You know, I mean, yeah. Look, I'm not gonna tell a story at the expense of someone else's.
No.
And you know, so there's a few people I got on my Disney postcards and stuff in here, and maps of routes I took around the States, and you know, anyway. And I was reading through it, and it was quite weird. It was I'd read things, you know, because of course I'd forgotten about everything, and I'd read stuff and I'd be thinking, God, you know, did I really say that, or did I really make that decision? Or and then you'd also read about other people that you'd forgotten about, some of whom have now passed away, which is quite sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought this would be quite an interesting book. And yeah, and so I just started typing it out, and then I thought, well, the diary on its own is not enough. So an interesting second narrative will be older Lance telling off younger Lance for being such a dumb idiot about various decisions I made. And then also I would include the film reviews of the best and the worst.
Which is great. I love that touch. I love that touch. The one thing I want to get to, and you start off the book with this, is the loss of a friend, Jamie Olet.
I'm going to show you a picture of him.
Okay.
And I will listen. I've been drinking so much fluid because of the other interview. Every so often, I'm going to rush to the toilet, which is literally just there.
Yeah, no worries.
But I can, or the bathroom, as you call it. But I can still. I did a movie about Jamie's death. That was my first feature film. This is the cast and crew of that film outside Esher College, where Jamie and I went, we met. And but this is taken in like 95. But I actually do have some photos of him. Here he is.
Now you talk about him like you compare him to the Breakfast Club, and you talk about him as the
Judd Nelson character.
In this.
Yeah, if you look at, I mean, he had that coat. He had the long coat. He smoked.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He wasn't Judd Nelson's character. He didn't have a dysfunctional relationship with his father. He had I mean, he had a stepfather at home who he got on pretty well with. He had a great relationship with his mother, and he had two younger sisters, or two younger half sisters. And but he was just effortlessly cool. He was very different.
Yeah. That's what you mentioned in the book, and like you really kind of, I don't want to say idolized, but you kind of like looked up to him. He was kind of like a mentor to you. Like you kind of.
No, it wasn't that I looked up to him. It was more that he was from one world. I was from another world,
Yeah.
but we both loved movies. So we
Yeah.
became great mates really quickly.
And let me
And
rephrase that. What I mean by look up to him is you look up to him for advice, like when you visit the grave sites. Like you're always looking
later.
for
You're
that.
talking about after he died.
Yeah, because you're looking up to him like you talk about the weather and how it's always miserable, but when you get to the gravesite, to the tombstone,
Yeah.
the weather changed and it's sunny, and you have this reflection in this moment, and it's very touching and endearing, and you have these questions. You're lost throughout this whole book. You're lost. You're humiliated. You're embarrassed.
That's a really good summary for. I mean, I was very lost, very, very lost. Let me dash to the bathroom real quick.
Yeah.
I'll be 2 seconds.
I'm just gonna say, people, you should get this book because it's an eye opener. It was an eye opener for me. 1988, and we're gonna discuss it more. A teenage journal of films, love and loss, and it's interesting how Lance had this relationship and loses his relationship and seeks a relationship. He yearns for, and he's mentioned it quite a few times in the book, how he was always looking for some kind of companionship, some kind of love, and like unconditional love. I was just mentioning, I don't know if you heard, like how you were constantly looking for that love throughout the book, but you knew what you wanted. You didn't want that quick, relationship with, teenagers do, of, going through the emotions and just having a relationship.
I'd had quite the year before, which was 87, and 1986 was a great year for me. Great movies, and me and my first girlfriend, we used to go out to London every Monday because all the cinema tickets were £2.
Anna.
And even though I worked at a cinema after school during the week, or on the weekends, in the West End, they would get the movies 4 to 6 weeks ahead before they were released around the rest of the country. So we like to go and see them ahead of everybody else. I also liked to see them when I was not working, so I could see the film properly and not get pulled out to go and sort out a fight in Cinema 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
And, my then girlfriend, Anna, was also, she was very into films. That was the thing that connected us as well. So, we used to, we loved it. We loved going to see films. We saw 3 in one day, I think, once. And,
yeah, you mentioned there was times where I think you saw 4 films in a day.
There was, in America, that was it. Every day off, go to the cinema. There were a couple of days I did 4. Yeah, it was 3.
I always I love the 80s. For me, it was such an innocent time. Like, to go to the movies, me and my buddies would go to the movies all the time. We saw everything. It was cheap. It was the entertainment was incredible. The stories were incredible. There was there was shitty movies then too, but at least they were entertaining.
I saw very few films that year when I went to the cinema in the States. I'm talking about, I rented out some dire films on video, but there were very few I saw on the big screen where I went, God, that was utter rubbish. I wish I hadn't bought a ticket. I mean, The Rescue, not great film. The Matt Dillon kids going to rescue their dads in China, or Iron Eagle, but with kids, with more kids on the ground in speedboats or whatever. It was utter nonsense, but it was fun nonsense. So it was 88 was a great year for films, man. I saw Die Hard 6 times that year.
Yes. AJ, what's up, AJ? So I just want to ask a question. So, you mentioned Anna a lot throughout the book, and she was in a relationship pretty much throughout that whole year. And
I think I don't know the full story, but she married the guy she dated after me, who was also a friend of mine, and had kids with him, and I think it was, the problem was that what I didn't realize really what was going on at the time was I had some sort of, the thing with Jamie, also the night Jamie died, I should have been there, and I just missed him. And I didn't find that information out until later, the following summer it was, I think. And I think the day I find out that information, I think, is in the book. I think it's when I go to visit Jamie's mum. I think it's in there.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know, and when I found that out, I was completely distraught, and I was just going through this massive bereavement, and I was completely not equipped to cope with it at all. You know, who is at that age, and to go through that kind of thing at that age is very, very difficult. You don't, you know, the problem was that Jamie died right at the end of the year, just as we were going into our maths exam. That was when we found out about it, and there were no, you know, there wasn't like a meeting at college or anything. There were no counsellors offered, you know, of any kind. We all just kind of had to go to the funeral. And then we, you know, after that, we all went our separate ways. There was a lot of us that never saw each other again. And I found that very difficult, though. We didn't do enough of the all getting together, talking about him and processing it. We were all kind of left to deal with it on our own. And I didn't cope with that.
No, there was a lot that happened for you that year that my heart, I felt awful for you. Like you expressed your feelings for individuals. You asked out about 11 girls that year. They all turned you down. And
my dating track record that year was absolutely atrocious. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, completely unsurprisingly, because you know, I would have been giving off an energy of confusion. There was a lot going on, and
well, yeah, and well, there's that, and then there's you hearing about your adoption,
yeah,
your birth date. It was another thing that was kind of throwing you off. There was just a lot there that any 15, 16, 17-year-old would be struggling with, and especially after a very close friend dying, that kind of left you, and then a breakup on top of that. It just left you so open and just in shambles. Like reading the book, you compare yourself to, like, you always mentioned Dawson's Creek, but I go back to Breakfast Club, where you were kind of like the Michael Anthony Hall, or Anthony Michael
a little
Hall.
bit.
You were that character. You're a little bit of that character, and you were a little bit of Lucas from the movie Lucas.
Yeah.
And you were a little bit of Screech from Saved by the Bell. You had all these kind of like qualities, and I don't mean like the geek nerdy, but I mean like the innocent, the naivety. I hope I said that right.
I was closest to the. If I look back at film things, and I thought, God, that's me right now. The thing that really hit me was when I went to see Dead Poets Society.
Yeah.
And Ethan Hawke's character in that really represented what I was going through at the time, when Robert Sean Leonard's character dies, and he's completely bereft and doesn't know what to do. And there's that scene where he runs out into the snow screaming. And I remember there was a day similar to that where I did that somewhere. I can't remember. I don't know. It wasn't in the snow, but it was a field or something. You know, I was on my own, and I just went out into this field, and I couldn't stop screaming for ages, crying and whatnot. And yeah, it was terrible. But a lot of this stuff, it's so weird when I wrote the diary, because so much has happened since then, and I don't even recognize that guy anymore. So I think I wrote in the foreword, this person feels like a million acquaintance that I knew once. And obviously the people will recognize bits of me here and there, I'm sure. But that's very true, because now, you know, I have no, I certainly don't have any problem with dating or you know, I mean, I was married for
your walls are probably up a lot more. I don't know what they're at right now, but after experiencing that, your walls must have been up a lot more. You must have, like, you got harassed and teased. Someone stole your diary.
That was bad. That was when the diary
that's
got
awful.
stolen.
That was I was just like, are you kidding me? I
caught him.
If I knew you then, and knowing me, I would have beat the shit out of some kids, because I can't stand bullying like that to that level. I can't stand that. There's busting each other's balls and having fun, but then there's just flat out bullying, and that I can't stand this stuff. I would have done something about it, because I don't like that shit.
Yeah.
And I was just reading that, and I could feel the rage going through my body when reading that. I'm just like, holy shit! If I
remember I was on my way to tell the head of the camp, and Gordo, who was best friends with this guy Paul, who was the guy I caught reading the diary. And the only reason I can remember all this and these names now is because I wrote all this out. I had to read it all, and I forgot about all this stuff that happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember he came up to me, like, oh no, don't go, no, don't say anything, please don't say anything, because he knew Paul would have got fired for that, and because they would fire people over shit like that in the camp. I met a guy when I was traveling around afterwards, and he said that 75% of the counselors at the camp were fired during the course of his stay there, because the guy who ran the camp was a narcissistic psychopath, and he was telling me various different circumstances under which people were fired, and it was literally over anything. And I thought, my God, thank God I wasn't at that place.
Well, you also mentioned that there was a rich girls kind of elitist kind of thing where they fired a bunch of kids too throughout that camp as well. In the book, there was a lot of comments that there was the all-female camp.
Well, the camp was divided into girls and boys.
Oh, okay.
It was all part of the same camp. It was a camp called Camp North.
Oh, okay.
And the female counselors were assigned to the girls' bunks, and the male counselors were assigned to the boys' bunks. And there was a kind of a big camp ground or sort of sorry, my glasses are filthy. Meeting place in the middle. And the girls' camp was on one side of it. We were on the other side, and then you had the food hall and whatnot. The guy who ran the camp was a guy called Jim Reinard with his wife, then wife Kirsty. They separated, actually. That was the last year they were together, I believe. And then Geordie was sort of, we could see he was being groomed to take over. And him and his wife ran it right up until, I think they gave it up sort of halfway through the pandemic and said that was it for them. But he had a brother on Flight 19, and he's heavily involved in, he was the driving force behind getting the Flight 19 Memorial Museum at the crash site in wherever it is, Iowa, or no, it's not Iowa, is it Pennsylvania? So I've got Iowa on my mind because we were talking about Field of Dreams earlier. So there's so many weird connections there, and I think, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think Todd Beamer, who was also on that flight, was one of the kids at our camp. So I definitely remember two Todds that were in the bunk next to me. One of them was called Todd Hertz. I can't remember the name of the other one. And again, I can only remember the name Todd Hertz because it's in the diary. It's at the front of the diary. I'll put it down now.
Well, this book is like definitely a coming of age tale.
Yeah.
And the one question I have for you, and you mentioned it a few times in the book about, only being a few minutes behind, and you kind of almost blame yourself for being late, even though it's not intentional.
Sure.
I don't know so much now, but for years, did you sit there feel guilty or feel like you blame yourself or missed out? Or
I kept thinking if I was there, I would have been able to save him. That was my thinking. And I think it took quite a long time. It took until I'd made the movie, which no one's seen this movie, but it was called Death Comes from the Touch of the Funny Man. Very long and strange title. And and it basically is the movie of 3 friends meeting, all based on people I knew. One of them was based on me, the other one was based on Jamie, and then another one was based on another friend of mine who's mentioned in the book a few times called Edward. And then it kind of followed the 7 years after that, and that was loosely based on
your guilt.
Yeah, I mean, it was more about dealing with the bereavement, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I was suffering from PTSD, because I've been diagnosed with that now because of something else that happened, and I'm pretty sure I've earned it this time around. I'm not sure I earned it that time around, but I don't know what it was, but I hung on to it for a really long time, way longer than I should have done, way longer than was mentally healthy for me.
To be fair, Lance, there, like I mentioned earlier, there was a lot of negative moments in your life at that time. Like I also forgot to mention the death of Morfar. Is it Morfar? Is that name?
Yeah, you're talking about my grandfather.
Yeah. So you're talking like there was a couple deaths. There was
I don't think he died before the diary. That was yeah. I mean, my grandfather died, I think, the same year as Jamie.
Yeah, it was in the very beginning of the story of your diary there.
Yeah, I kind of did a recap of what I could remember from the year before.
Yeah.
And then I've got lots of other things. I've got letters and photos, you know, that I was able to put together some of that, because I couldn't remember a lot of this, you know.
But then you were also concerned about Morfar. You were concerned about yourself. You were concerned about your friend. You were in the middle of a lot of these relationships. You were told a lot of things, but you were omitted. You were omitted from a lot. Like a lot of stuff does not relate to you. You felt like, why wasn't I told this? Like you were definitely a lost individual.
Well, now you know where the name The Outcast comes from.
Well, yeah, it's fitting because
I didn't really know where I fitted, because I made these new friends at college, and we kind of formed a D&D group. And I didn't stay in touch with many people from my secondary school, a couple of them. Some of them were in the D&D group as well. And then I had this other group of friends that I knew who also did role-playing games and stuff, and they were all kind of hippie. They were becoming hippies, and they were going down the pub, and I was not into drinking at all back then. I didn't drink alcohol until I was 28. So I kind of got excluded from that group because, Lance doesn't like to drink, and he doesn't like us smoking, and, you know, he chops your cigarettes in half with a pair of scissors if he sees you, and he's no fun. So don't fucking invite him. And I get that. I mean, you know, I get that completely. So the group that I was hanging out and playing role-playing games with, my ex-girlfriend used to come to. That's where she met her future husband, who was one of my other friends in that group. And then when we split up, he took over running the group, because I went into, you know, negative, stubborn headspace or whatever. And basically, you know, by the time I kind of came to terms with what had happened and wanted back in to play games or whatever, I went there one time, and I just realized it wasn't going to work. I was just going to make people feel uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable. I called my friend Paul. He came and picked me up, bless him. And that was it. And I kind of never looked back. And I don't think that day's not in the book. That would have happened in 87, towards Christmas of 87. But yeah, I mean, it was a real weird time. There was lots of big changes, I guess, and that was the year that I became an adult. That was the year I grew up. That was the year I realized life was not all a bunch of roses, and people died sometimes, and people could die young, you know. And
the one thing that you always went back to, and before I mention this, I want to say a quick hello to Dempsey. What's up there, buddy?
Good name, Drunken Poet.
You always went back to, there was two things you always went back to. You went to your movies, and it didn't matter.
They were my escape.
They were your escape. It was either in the theater or even at home, because you talked about the Thunderbirds. you talk about
Yeah.
Doctor Who, you even mentioned V, and I was just like, damn, I remember V. And you mentioned these escapisms that you, and then renting movies, you know.
Yeah.
But then
I was
there's the
copying everything. I was copying everything off the TV, like for Christmas.
Yeah, oh yeah, all of us did that.
Those, you know, those 10 stacks of VHS
videotapes,
180 tapes, you know, and you
break the tab off so you can
get them, and you'd be like, oh my god, now I can record 30 hours of films and movies.
Yeah,
you know? I've got to cut the adverts out, you know.
But the other thing that you took pride in when you throughout the book is the games, creating games and the role-playing games. And you took pride in that. You mentioned quite a few times that when you were in the lead of doing those games, that they were a lot of fun, and people got jealous of that because they couldn't capture your I don't want to say, I guess, DMing or the leadership you had in those roles.
That was something I was really good at. I guess that was the sort of beginnings of me becoming a director, taking people on a story. And because as soon as I got back from America, I was already attending this club called the South London Warlords, which I'm technically still a member of. And they run the biggest games convention every year in London. And I've run big party games there and stuff. But I got an award for being their like most enthusiastic member in years, because it was an outlet for me. And one of the things I did as soon as I got back from America was I ran a Die Hard role-playing game.
Yes.
And
that was my next question.
8 players together. 6 of them were playing the terrorists. One of them was playing Bruce Willis, and the other one was playing the policeman, right? And Al Powell, wasn't it? Al Powell from the Los Angeles Police Department. And it was really funny because what we did was we had all the guys playing the terrorists were all on walkie-talkies, sitting on their own on tables around the clubs, and we got these walkie-talkies. And there was a guy, I'm friends with him now, called Luke Dent. He filled in a lot of the blanks for me. A lot of people filled in blanks for me, and for the postscript stuff. And he played the Hans Gruber character, you know. Anyway, to cut a long story short, in our role-playing game, Bruce Willis' character died. He fell down a lift shaft, failed a die roll. So he killed about 6 of the terrorists, but not as many as he killed in the film. And when Al Powell saw the ambulance, I said, "There's an ambulance coming, screaming out of the car park." And he said, "Oh, I better get out of the way and let it go." And he let it go, and that was the terrorist getting away. So that was great fun running that game. And you know, the thing is, until I found the diary, which I thought I'd thrown away, I thought it was long gone, because I kept a daily in '89 as well, the year after. That one I know got left in a phone box by accident once. Yeah, I mean, none of these things I remembered until I read about them. And then you kind of
just come back because there was...
Yeah, I sort of have little snatches, but there are huge pockets of my memory that are missing.
I love the quips you put in there, how you just sit there and get mad at yourself. There's kind of a couple inserts like the one like I tried, you know, the glasses and the hair, you idiot, and they're not going to be around you when you're acting so negative, and like you're like almost venting at yourself in the book. Like,
yeah, I mean,
third person. It's quite the take. It's different. It's a different take. I found the whole book refreshing and raw, because it's just, you get emotionally attached to you because you're very gullible, you're naive to the world, you've experienced so much loss and grief that you just don't know how to deal with. You're expressing emotions that guys normally don't do, and you were alone, and then you actually had some friends comfort you, but you were yearning for that relationship. You wanted someone to be there just one-on-one with you. You wanted it. You mentioned it quite a few times in this book. Like, you just needed someone to, like, you talk about Anna a lot, how you missed her, how you could talk to her, and you even realize in the book, like, you know, I can't talk to her because she's in a relationship with a friend. It's not proper for me to do that. You talk about Natasha and how you loved, you know, talking to her, and she's so beautiful.
Funny. Natasha I recently reconnected with.
Really?
On Facebook. I think she's just got married. and she's a complete hippie.
Uh,
I mean that in a nice way, and very into kind of yoga and all of that stuff.
mm-hmm.
And I remember, I didn't really remember her, but you know, I wrote the whole book out, and of course, her name is in all the contact numbers are all in the front of the diary. So I had her name, and I thought, well, I wonder if I put this name into Facebook, if any faces will come up, that because I couldn't picture her. And then I found a picture of I've got a photograph of us all outside of the UK premiere of Die Hard. Someone took a photo of us all, and I've got that photo. And sure enough, in that photo is Natasha. So now I had a photo and a name. So I found her on Facebook, and I was writing the book, but I hadn't really got to the bit with her in yet. I had a massive crush on her, and it all went wrong. And I said, "Oh, I'm writing this diary. I think we knew each other, and you know, I speak about you quite a lot, so we must have been, you know, quite close friends at the time." She did remember. Everybody remembers going to see Die Hard.
Yeah.
Everybody that was on that cinema trip, which was a surprise. No one knew even what film we were going to see. I brought my birthday party forward, especially just to go and see it.
Thanks, brother.
In fact, I had 2 birthday parties that year. I went one to go and see RoboCop and one to go and see Die Hard. And you know, because have your party when the film's out that you want to watch. Sod what date it is. And yeah, so we saw Die Hard in the morning and Scrooged in the evening, and we went ice skating in between. And again, I can't remember a lot of it, but I have a set of photographs from that day that someone took that they gave me a set of. So I've got all these pictures of us ice skating. There's another friend of mine called Vicky Cookson who gets mentioned in the diary quite a bit. I can't find her anywhere, and I would love to find her. Because me and her, again, you know, you read the pages and you think, oh, I was pretty close with this person that I can't remember. I was pretty close with this person that I can't remember.
Well, there's one person that really caught your eye, and this was when you're at camp.
Let me dash for another pee.
Yep.
Oh, hold that thought. Sorry.
I will hold that thought, sir. Thank you, CLS. I appreciate that, bro. This is so far looking to be top 5 Diabolical Souls interviews. Thank you. Cannoli, thanks for joining there, brother. Jacob, thanks for joining again. Who, if there's anyone, Gray Wolf, thanks for coming on. I appreciate that. And of course, I mentioned Dempsey. Thanks, bro. And Sassy, how's it going, Sassy? And she's back on Friday, so everyone go check her out on Friday on her channel. Should be a good show. I'm going to be watching that as well.
You're gonna mention the girl you're talking about is Erin.
Yes, I wanted to set that up. So yeah, you talk about Erin, and you talk about this image where she's in by the lake and the moonlight, and you talk about how you wish you had a photo.
That was the first time I saw her. I was walking one way with somebody and she was going the other, and it was, yeah, I mean, she was and probably still is one of the most beautiful girls I'd ever seen in my life.
You said that in the book, and you really said that in the book. I was like, this girl better be like
do you know what? I can show you a picture of her, because again, I took a lot of photos on that trip, and I have those photos. And I dug them all out recently, and I did a Facebook post about the book, and I've, like Billy, for example, who was the Scottish football coach, me and him got in touch as a result of me doing this project. I've been up to see him in Scotland, and you know, and he remembers stuff about me and what happened when we were there that I still don't remember at all. That's not even in the diary. So, you know, and I mean, he nearly got fired, and I knew that had happened, but I never really knew the story behind it. And he kind of told me the whole story, and that was really interesting. And
the only thing that was missing from that story where you're at Cap was like a Jason Voorhees kind of character.
Yeah,
it was such a setup for your new typical horror movie. All these kids at camp.
I mean, it was, but fortunately, there wasn't one of those. The first person to read the book, who you know, I got a surprising text from them. Like, I sent them an early copy, and they said, "Wow, Lance, I'm finding this surprisingly moving." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." And he said, "Yeah, it's really touching. I'm really invested." And that was the critical drinker that said that.
I was gonna see you're taking away some of my questions here.
Ah,
Man. I was
well.
gonna ask. Well, no, I'm joking.
Well, let's
But
come
like,
back to that. I found a photo of Erin. This is more important. So here you go. So this was a mock-up of the original cover we were going to do, and then I came up with the Die Hard idea. But on this cover, there are a load of photos of people that are in the diary that are mentioned. So top right, that is Vicky Cookson with the jeans. That's ice skating. Top left, that is the group that went to see Die Hard with Luke, sort of in the white jumper, sort of bending down to fit in the photo, in the middle. And that's when we went to go ice skating. Dee, who is the girl I can't remember, well, I sort of remember her now. That's her on the left, just under the number 1. The photo underneath that is the photo of us all standing outside the Odeon Leicester Square before we
look at that 80s hair. Look at that 80s
yeah,
hair.
that's
Oh,
Denise with the really big frizzy hair. The
yeah.
girl with the red hair on the far end, that is Natasha. Squeezed in just under the word films with the dark curly 80s hair, that's Anna. That's the only photograph. That's the only photograph of her I have.
That's pretty. She's pretty.
She was very pretty, very lovely person as well. And we were too young. And if anything, it was more my fault than anything. Now the next photo, that is me and Rosalind, who was my favorite camper, and that was on the night of, I think it was like the prom dance, and basically
you asked her to dance, and then
Geordie actually said to me,
and
will you
sends a letter back saying how much she appreciated you.
Yeah. It was our job as counselors to, if somebody got left out of the, because all the kids, they go there to have a dance with the kid that they fancy, and then there's always kids that don't end up getting a dance with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So we were warned. We were said, like, right, you're gonna have to dance with someone, and we were like, yep, okay, cool. I don't think that would fly in this day and age, but that's what we had to do. And and I had my Top Gun t-shirt and my chinos on. If you look at it, that's such a weird combination. And she's in this lovely blue dress. And Rosalind was actually older than me. She was, I think she was like 21 or something. But she was just, I don't know what you call it. She's just very slow. But one of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my life. And I can still hear her voice when she said hello to me, "Hi, Lance," like that. And I found her. I traced her in 2021. And I always thought, I'll tell you, I might cry when I tell you this story. I always thought of all the kids that I met on that camp, if the universe was just, she was the one who was going to end up, because she was a beautiful human being. And she was the one who should have ended up with some Prince Charming who saw through her learning disabilities, I think, because that's what they called them, LD back then, and swept her off her feet, married her, taken her away, lived happily ever after. I was certain if anyone was going to get that story, it was going to be her. I was so distraught when I got in touch with her in 2021 to find out she'd just come out of a really abusive relationship, and she was quite broken. And I said, "I'm here. Any day you want to do a Zoom call, I can't come over to America, but I said, any day you want to do a Zoom call, I'll do a Zoom call with you." And we did about 3 calls. And I mean, she's got a life over there, and she's doing well. She's involved in the creative arts, and does stuff with a really good organization called Sphere, which works with people with learning disabilities, and they put on plays, and she works at a local cinema, and she's doing okay, but she couldn't believe I tracked her down. She never forgot me.
I just want to say, like, reading your book and then hearing these stories, Lance, you have a beautiful soul. Like, you really are not afraid to show emotion and put yourself out there, and talk about these things.
For all the good it's done me.
But you know what? Look where you are now. Like, you're meeting some really good people right now.
True. I have. You are.
You know, the past is called the past for a reason.
Yeah.
And you got to look at where we're at now. And you have some really great friendships. I know I'm a big supporter of you. I think you're a great person.
Oh, it's very kind, man.
Yeah, well, I like you. I don't surround myself people that I don't really care. Like, if I don't have a relationship with you, yeah, I'll talk to you and everything, but like, I'm not going to have you in my circle. If I have you in my circle, it's for a reason. It's because I can talk to you. We can, like, you know, talk about things and not be afraid of, you know, gossip and everything later on.
Yeah, I'm aware that I'm still a relative baby to YouTube, but I mean, I've even witnessed firsthand all this infighting, and I've had people come up to me and say,
yeah,
why are you going on that person's channel? Not about you, by the way, but you know, I've had that. Why are you doing streams with them? And I'm like, what do you mean? Oh, you know, they're a right wing, you know, because I'm a very liberal guy. I'm very pro LGBT, all of that. I'm not. Listen, there's a lot of things about that I don't agree with, but that's a whole other conversation.
I'm the exact same way, Lance. I don't,
you know, but I don't consider myself a lefty. I don't consider myself a righty. I feel a certain way about certain issues. You know, I don't think kids should be making decisions that are going to affect their whole lives before they're adults. That they need to have a childhood. That's so important, and childhood goes so quick now. You know,
I totally agree. I'm totally on the same page as you there. Like, I'm not really a heavy political person. I don't care. They're all full of shit to begin with, because they do stupid stuff.
Well, I'm on YouTube because I love talking about films. I like talking about games. I like talking about history. I like talking about TV shows. I love talking about actors. I like talking about production. I like talking about anything creative, and I like supporting other people. So, you know, I don't really care what someone else's politics are, and if they're different from mine. If they like Die Hard, I'm going to get on with them.
Yep.
Probably, you know. We don't have to agree on everything in life. I've got a lot of wargaming buddies in America. You know, a big percentage of them are Republican supporters. One of the reasons we all get on is because we never talk about politics. What we do talk about are the things that we love, and that's gaming and history and Battle of the Bulge and Operation Market Garden and Stalingrad. And, you know, going back to this picture, so to get to the crucial issue, and I'm afraid it's a very small photo. So just to the right of Rosalind, there's a group of 4 girls on the beach here. Erin is just there. In the white jumper with her arms folded, just behind a girl called Geeta, who's got the stripy top on. Stephanie, who's mentioned in the diary quite a lot, is to the right, and that's another photo of Stephanie above. I'm in touch with Stephanie. She's on my Facebook friends list. I'm also in touch with Marty, who's these are 3 of the kids that are in my bunk. I've been trying to find all the kids that were in my bunk, but I've only found one of them, and one kid from the bunk next door. These are the 2 girls who ran the medical thing, who I had a really big crush on one of them, but she was way older than me. So, and this was another one of my favorite campers. I think her name was Michelle something, and that's us doing kind of when we were doing a race where our legs were tied together. There's my friend Billy in his tartan boxer shorts between 8 and 8. So that was an early cover for the book that was abandoned. I think the cover I ended up with is way better.
Oh yeah, that's great. I do have a question going back to these girls. At the end of the story, you talk about these two girls that come into the cinema. And I'm just curious, did you ever go out on a date with that one girl that you mentioned? You couldn't remember her name.
You're talking about the black girl, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That I remember, like, I ended up talking to them after they came out of the movie for like the best part of like 45 minutes. And then I think we may or may not have gone to the pub. I can't remember. I don't know if that's in the diary. I can't remember.
Yeah, you mentioned something about the pub. I think you
and I really hit it off with both of them. I
Yeah.
really hit it off with both of them. And again, I didn't remember even these people existing until I read the diary. And I never saw them again. I think they came into the cinema one time, but I was up in screen 3 and I kind of was on the balcony and I kind of saw down and kind of gave them a wave. Maybe I don't know. But that was the first black girl that I wanted to go out with, and certainly wasn't the last.
Yeah, I hear you there. There's another reference I wanted to put in here, and I just wanted to throw because I mentioned like
Sure.
I think it's Anthony Michael Hall, right? Or is it Michael Anthony Hall?
Yeah, from Anthony Michael Hall, I think.
Yeah, Anthony, because Michael Anthony's from Van Halen, the bassist from Van Halen. I always get those two confused. I referenced you to him, the geek from Breakfast Club. Not saying you were geek, but the some of the stuff that he his characteristics in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I was a geek in the same way he was a geek, but I was also a bit like Judd Nelson's character. If someone tried to hit me, I would hit them.
Oh yeah, you talk about chasing someone. You talk about chasing someone in the theater, but there's also you have these Lucas moments in the movie. You also have
the book. It's not a movie yet.
Yeah, or the book, I should say. And then you Screech. There's some moments of Screech from Save the Bell because you say Dawson's Creek, which I get it. But there's another moment where I'm just like reading this book, and there's another image that comes to me is Dustin Hoffman from the Graduate. That I get. I envision you in the part similar to that a little bit, where you're just you're kind of going into these parties, kind of like unaware of the scene. You're not fully you haven't had like these heavy romantic and heavy relationships yet. So you're kind of new to all that. You're hearing about other things like guys getting blowjobs and in the theater and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember. Well, I'm hearing a lot of stories. That's just.
But you almost like Dustin Hoffman there, like where you're just kind of like, oh wow, this is actually happening. That's I kind of get these characters that come into mind reading your book.
I mean, it felt like, I guess what I'm saying is a lot of the time, it felt like everyone else was having the adventures that I wanted, and I mean, I'm not talking about porkies here. I'm talking more about the Sure Thing, John Cusack movie where he finds this. I'm talking about When Harry Met Sally. I think I had a very intense relationship with my first girlfriend. Again, memories about her. All of that was gone. This is really when I was able to remember any of that. Was reading back. I mean, I knew we went out, but I knew we'd broken up, but I couldn't really remember much else. And but it wasn't just we're both kids, let's go out. There was something there. It was both really into movies, and we both had quite high aspirations about what we wanted our life to be. I was saying I was going to be a director, and she talked about maybe being a producer, I think. I mean, again, memories are very vague. But
you were not.
I didn't go. I wasn't in my clubbing phase. I wasn't drinking. I didn't do any drugs. I wasn't a party guy. And
no,
you weren't. Heard about all those things. But I was never really drawn to those things. But at the same time, I kind of wanted one foot in that world because that seemed to be where you got the smooch from the pretty girl, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You wanted an emotional relationship where all the guys were
Yeah.
having these
I
sexual
was never,
relationships.
even as a teenager, I was never into one night stands. I never wanted a one night stand.
No. You mentioned that. You
Yeah.
talk about a couple of girls that were okay looking or pretty or cute, but they were just like, you just didn't have that connection with them intellectually, emotionally. You just couldn't, you know, hit
Well,
that. You
I
even
dated.
had even a part in the book where you talk about there was 4 options for you. There was Aaron, there was
Well,
or not Aaron,
you know, hey,
sorry,
you know,
not
maybe.
Aaron. You're focused on Natasha. There was Anna. You called her
Well,
AI.
Anna was finished. I mean, that was done. I knew
But
that.
the other, I think there was another Anna, the AI. You called her AL or Al.
Oh, Al.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. There was like 3 or 4 girls that you were kind of going through, but you kind of like had them in like categories, and you would like you had Natasha at the top of the heap because
there's an entry in the diary where I think I know what you're talking about. There's an entry in the diary where I summarize my romantic options as they stand. One was I had been told this girl who was the best friend of the sister of someone who worked at the cinema, very tenuous connection. She had been in a few times. She had seen me, and she was interested. She didn't have so there was her. I had just met at that time Natasha at college, and she just was very different. And met her purely by coincidence because I had to go to another building that I didn't normally go to meet somebody, and that was where she was based. And ended up talking to her and her friend called Peter, who I probably, when I reread the diary, I was like, I should have asked Peter out. Why didn't I do that? Because I think there was something there. But anyway, and yeah, and then whoever and all of those, whatever 4 options they were. This was after Camp America, so Erin definitely was. I mean, I don't think she was ever really an option. But all of those, none of those worked out. Al actually, Al asked me out on a date, and I said okay, and I went all out to make it a special date, and she fucking stood me up and didn't turn up, and it was awful.
There was
And
the one girl that was very outgoing and said that we're going to be really good friends, aren't we? And I forget her name. I want to say Tabitha or Tasha or something like, I can't remember her name, but she was very outgoing. And then you mentioned her, and then it just kind of like a fart in the wind. It was just gone. You never heard about her again. In your diary, because you knew what you were looking for, and
you should give me the date so I can reference these things. And
it would have been in I want to say October of that year. As I'm flipping through it, there was the Buster movie, and you talk about the Pet Shop Boys, Vicky and Denise. Liz is another one that you talk about a lot.
Oh yeah, Liz. That was she was younger than me, so I was kind of like not really keen. But then I found out later that my friend was already dating her, and he just didn't tell me, which was a bit naughty.
You just went back to school, and she just kind of jumped into the group, and she was like very obnoxious.
Oh, Charlotte.
Yeah. And
Charlotte, Charlotte is a good friend of mine.
What's up, Melvin?
We are still in touch.
Nice.
And she is on my Facebook. We got back in touch a long time ago. We got back in touch in like 1998. And yeah, I mean, nothing ever happened with me and her romantically. I came back from America, and she was like, oh, where's Lance? I got to meet him. And because she'd heard about me, so I went straight back to work at the cinema. She came bounding out of nowhere, this big ball of energy. Oh, hi Lance, I'm Charlotte. I'm crazy. I'm wacky. I'm, and we're going to get on great. And we did. We got on great. And I think if I had been a different person, she was into bad boys. If I'd been a confident bad boy, she would have been, or you know, I would have been her guy. But I wasn't confident bad boy. I was sort of nerdy nice guy. So, you know, but yeah, she was good egg though. Good egg for sure.
So getting away from the book now, you talk about graduating from the AV classes, and you start getting into a bit of a a career. Do you want to take that on? Do you want to talk about that? I mean, I could read from the book, but I think it's best coming from you. How the next steps of you becoming this, director and
Well,
right?
I got sidetracked for quite a bit. I mean, I actually wanted to be an actor, and I had a couple of little things when I was younger. I did Bugsy Malone, not the film, stage production. Very late in the production, and then when my parents kind of pushed me to go to art college, which I didn't really want to do. They found this kind of vaguely film course, which turned out to be rubbish, and I didn't spend much time actually at the college. Kept bunking off and going up to London. I mean, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I had one of those days every week.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
weather was good, and there's a new film out up in town. Do I really want to go to Jack's photography lecture to be told I should photograph hands for my next project? No.
Yes, you talk about that. You say you still haven't done a photo of a hands or any kind of body,
any body appendage. Yeah,
yeah.
He was a nuts guy who wore this maroon tank top, and I'll never forget these guys. This I did remember because memories would come back to me as I was reading the diary. So he had a book in the college library about photography, and they had this really bad picture of him on the backlight. And our course was terrible. It was really badly managed. We were merged with graphic design about 3 months in because it was undersubscribed. There was barely enough equipment to go around as it was, and we all had this. We demanded a meeting with him, and we were all like, Jack, we're not very happy about the way the course is going. I demanded a one-to-one meeting with him as well. I told him I needed guidance. No, very few students go up to their tutors and say that. And yeah, all right, Lance, I'll keep an eye on you. Did he fuck? And this anyway, we had this meeting, and we need someone. Somebody said someone shouted out, we need someone strong-willed running this course, and he went, I am strong-willed. I'm strong-willed. And anyway, this meeting degenerated. And the next day, photocopies of him as a wanted poster with the picture from the back of his book appeared all over college, and it said, warning, this man is wanted for being dangerous and strong-willed. And it was these two guys on the graphic design course that did it. And I don't think they ever got done for it, but we all knew they'd done it because word got out. And there was a big meeting about it, and it was a whole thing. Janice Hart, the college sort of succubus, kind of came round and lectured us all.
Well, you kind of have this kind of John Hughes kind of movie life, like
I wanted to live in a John Hughes movie.
I know, that's why I brought it up. That's why I brought it up, because you have the story that John Hughes, if he knew about it, he would have done. He would have, probably made a movie like that.
There probably is a mini series in there.
Yeah,
in that diary somewhere.
I think there has to be a series made about this, or a movie. So
I think you can do a 2-hour movie about a 12-month storyline. I don't think. Well, maybe you could, but
there's that One Hot Summer, or what is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be better if it was. Look, if I was going to do it, let's pretend I read the book and I wasn't the guy who wrote it, but I was a producer. I would say this is a 12-part mini series, and we're going to
1
call
month?
every episode after the month that it's
Yeah,
set.
okay.
And we'll look at the key things that happen in that month, and we'll make those the points of drama, and that's good.
Well,
That's our
get
that's
on
our
it,
story.
Lance. Get on it. There you go. There's your project.
I'm not writing a film about. I've already done 2 quite autobiographical movies. I'm not doing another one.
So anyway, I wanted to get to you graduating, and then you're like at the end of the in the prologue.
Yeah, I graduated in '89, which is obviously after the diary.
Yeah.
And
The epilogue, you talk about graduating for Epson in summer '89, and then you refurb Indiana Jones 3 was premiere on the
that was
night.
the following year, which was great.
Yeah.
Let me have a quick wee again.
Yes.
Sorry.
And then
every week.
You are working, and then you get into this is not the part I wanted to get into. About the author. That's the part I wanted to talk about. For those still watching, there is a question or a poll I have. Are you excited for what DSP has lined up for 2024? 53% said yes, and 47% said show me what you got, and then there's no, but that's 0%. So I appreciate that, you guys being excited for what I'm doing.
Saw that little voting poll there.
Yes, nice. So
hey, we've still got 7 people watching. Hurrah.
Yes. Well, we get a lot. I get a lot of people the next day that watch it afterwards. But
sorry, so yeah, we were talking about after I graduated, and
yeah, you you become a playwright for the Jackson Lane Theater from '97 to 2002.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as straightforward as that. I moved up to Nottingham.
Okay.
And this whole period of my life there's no diaries, there's some letters, there's some pictures and things. But I can't remember much of it at all. There's various things that happened, but and I made a movie, not a very good one, which was my first film, and then came back to London in '97, and between '97 and 2004, when I had the brain hemorrhage, I think I directed another movie. Second film, which was called 30, and then I can show you a picture of that actually, and then I did about 6 or 7 plays, and I would do plays about things that I wanted to do films or TV shows about, but I couldn't, so I did plays about them instead. And one of those plays was Sticks and Stones, which is also out on Amazon. It's that one. And
okay.
This is about 3 families' lives in Northern Ireland. It starts with Bloody Sunday, and it goes right through to the 1990s. And it's a 3-act play, and each act is a decade. And there's a picture of the original cast. It was done twice, and that is me down there with long hair.
I think my dad would be interested in something like that. Because he's into
quite possibly.
Well, he's Irish, so he would definitely want to read something like that.
I did a lot of plays about social injustice and that kind of thing, and I have most of the brochures. That's the original brochure of Sticks and Stones right there. I have most of the brochures in this album, and Jackson's Lane was the theatre I was based at until I did a controversial play, and they kicked me out. But
what's up, Anime Night? Thanks for joining us.
I did this play about the Hillsborough football disaster as well, and that was a big thing because that got me my first award.
Yes.
So So
is that the Critics' Choice Award that you're?
No, that was I had Time Out's Critics' Choice for the Victoria Climbier inquiry, which was a public inquiry into a really big child abuse scandal.
Okay.
This was the brochure for that. No, it was the Liverpool Arts and Entertainment Award that I got that for, and that was a big boost. And I was I was due to. I got offered a couple of jobs right after that. One of which was to write for Hollyoaks, but I would have had to have moved to Liverpool, and at the time, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to stay in London, and then I almost got on to write for EastEnders, but then that just sort of didn't really happen. The feature film I did called 30, which I don't think I've got a decent copy of, but this is the poster for it. So, and it's kind of like, it's about 6 people, 3 guys, 3 girls. They're all actors in London. They're all trying to make it before they're 30. And it was all based on friends of mine who were all actors around that time.
Oh, that sounds very similar to the John Hurt and Kevin Kline and what's that movie called? It's that you know, the one it was based in the 80s. It had Kevin Kline, John Hurt, and they all were high school, college. They were all college.
The Big Chill.
The Big Chill. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that. Bit like that. It had some similarities, but there were, there was a big party scene, and there's plenty of things I haven't written. I mean, I've got so many scripts on my computer. I've got more scripts than I could ever, if I had all the money in the world and I could go and make all my film projects, I could never make them all in the time I have left. So I'd have to pick and choose. I know which ones I would make, but yeah, that'd be nice.
I also want to circle back to your parents because they're your adopted parents.
Yeah.
Well, your mom was English and your dad was Danish.
That's correct.
And you talk about the Danish Christmases and stuff like that. Are they still?
They were the best. Are
they still around at all, or no? They're not.
No, they passed away. I lost my mother in 1st of March 2009, and my dad died 1st of December 2010.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, it's a while now, but I was, you look back and you think about things you wish you'd done in the time you had with them, and I've got a lot of regret there that I didn't spend more. I mean, I took my dad out for dinner the day before he died, so I'd literally only just got home from taking him out when I got the call. Actually, so it was the same day. I had to go race back. He choked on his food in the nursing home. That's what happened there. And but he had dementia. But I mean, he knew who I was, and we would go out. And I was trying to arrange for him to see Avatar when, and I know he would have loved that movie. Just like Copacabana loves that movie.
Well, I get this feeling from you that some of these deaths you take really personal, and you take on a lot of guilt.
Yeah, there was a really big one for that. That's the death of Angela Thomas, which, if you've watched my film, The Journey, that whole film's about her. I mean, that film is also about my ex-wife in a way, because she was the person who got me through, or brought me back to life, really, after all that. But Angela Thomas was how to describe her, really unique individual. Sorry. Anyway, you were leading up to a question.
No. I just you're having these raw moments, and I appreciate it. I feel you've had so much through your life, and you mentioned at the end of the book about yourself and how you have was it African, your African name, South African name, or what was it?
Yeah, my South African name is actually
yes,
Lev Heaton.
Yes. And did you ever contact the people, or did you just not bother, your actual?
Oh no, I met my real mother and my.
And how was that experience? Was that
Yeah, not
Not so good. Okay, never
Not so
mind.
good.
Well, that's a shame. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, my mother projected a lot of guilt. I went down to see her on the Friday, left on the Sunday, and that trip really fucked with my head for a long time. And I came away from that trip with all kinds of issues in terms of self-confidence, that I was a disappointment to her, and oh man, I didn't realize the damage that trip did to me until quite some time later. My trip, meeting my father didn't go so bad, but he was kind of a retired music singer, had a #1. You know, I could go onto YouTube and show you it right now. There's the video of it's on there, and he was part of that whole Mersey beat era, and he had like 11 kids from 6 different women and 3 different marriages, and I was a kid he didn't know about. And we got on really well, and I went down to see him and stayed with him and his kids and whatnot. But then I lost touch with them. I lost the contact details for them when I moved house. When my father died, I sort of tried to reconnect with them. And unfortunately, I don't know what had happened in the interim, but you know, I sort of suggested maybe coming down for
I think
Christmas.
we all are there. I think we all want to fly to UK and give Lance a big hug. Lance, I just want to say, one thing, a couple things. I hope you're getting some kind of support there.
I'm in 2 lots of therapy right now, but for none of the things we've discussed. So
you'll get a bill from me after.
I mean, this stuff is all, we're talking about stuff that's way in the past, you know.
Well, yeah, but I'm really honored that you are willing to share some of this. I know I've expressed some stuff that experienced to me. It feels good. Actually, it feels good to get it off your chest. I don't know how you're feeling, but I just want to say, I messaged you and saying like, dude, I'm always around if you need someone to talk to, and I mean that. I'm not one to just throw these comments out and just say, hey, you know, give me a shout, and then just not talk again.
No, I've had a few people say that, you know, recently, and because I had a pretty bad 2022 for a whole host of reasons, and it's great to know that support's there. I mean, we're concerning the things we're talking about now. These are old things. These are, you know, we're going back a long time, and I've had a lot of time to. We all have to lose our parents, you know.
Yep.
And I think the way I came to terms with it was I kept reminding myself when I would meet new people, and you'd talk about, so, oh, you know, how was your upbringing? How was your parents? Oh, my parents got divorced when I was 4, or oh, my dad used to beat the shit out of me when I was 7, or worse. You know, you'd hear worse stories.
Yeah.
And I'd think, Christ, you know, and I'd realize I was actually one of the lucky ones. I had a pretty decent parents. You know, they weren't perfect, but like whose parents are, but they were good parents, very kind, very loving, very generous when they had money, still made an effort when they didn't. My mum was always trying to keep up with the Joneses a bit, you know. She was a bit of a, oh, I want to be able to tell the neighbours my son's doing well, that kind of thing. So there was a bit of that going on, and she had aspirations that I was going to be a tennis player or something, and I had no interest in tennis, and then would like pay for me to have tennis lessons, but never bought me acting lessons, which was the one thing I was interested in. And you know, so but I've got no real complaints about my childhood, my upbringing. I had a fantastic time up until the summer of '87. It was pretty good, you know.
But there was some like, as much as we delve into these like heavy, you know, moments that, you know, all us teams kind of experience. Yours is obviously, you know, something a little different than the ordinary.
Well,
because
you
it's your story.
but you say that, but how many people have you interviewed about that
Lots.
time in their life?
100, over 100, and
Okay.
it's very interesting how people talk about, growing up either in poverty, growing up in a very strict household, um, growing up on their own, growing up out in the streets, because it's that work ethic that's lost now. And because when I have creators on, what gives you that drive, and a lot of them answer it early. I don't even ask a lot of it because I always put it in a way like, J.R. Tolkien was in the front lines. He experienced trauma like firsthand. Like he took what he learned from that and put it into this incredible story, Lord of the Rings. You had Lovecraft that was in and out of asylums. He was in mental, like he went through these, just because he had thought a different way, people didn't understand him. He went through some trauma himself. Like even J.K. Rowling, extremely poor. She worked her ass off. So you come from these stages in your life that give you memories and give you that drive to pursue and be resilient and to get what you want in life. That's my fear with kids nowadays. They are so entitled. Everything's given to them. Everything is like, and they can't. Like you have kids that can't even work 8 hours. They struggle with it.
I see it in my industry a lot, and I'm a white male in my 50s, early 50s, please. But no one wants us. We're not a box that's going to get ticked anywhere. Oh yeah, let's get a 50-year-old white guy to direct this or write this. Now, I have been grafting all my life very hard to achieve and do what I want to do, which is create, write, direct, tell stories, film, TV, books, whatever. No one's ever given me a leg up. I have had fellow creatives who have collaborated with me, like actor Jason Fleming and Danny Webb and my friend Sharon Duncan Brewster and some other people. But I've never had that person in that position of power. Hey, I'm the head of HBO. I saw your drama on blah, blah, or I've read your book on blah, blah. Damn, man. I need to give you a shot, And I've applied for things as well. I've applied for so many things. In fact, in lockdown, I applied for absolutely everything. And the moment when I knew the number was the number was up in terms of traditional routes for me was there was a theatre. Oh, I'm not going to say the name of this theatre, but it was taking on 10 new writers. And this was a chance to work under a very prestigious name in the UK, as big as the National Theatre. But this particular theatre does plays that I like to go and see. And I thought, I do quite a lot of social issue based drama, so I will fit in. And so I called him up and I said, look, I think at the time I was 47, for coming up for 48. This is a few years ago. And I said, are you looking for the next young thing, or is this open to everybody? Because, I'm this age and blah, blah, blah. No. It's open to everybody. Okay, then. And one of the things you had to have was a reference from someone who had performed at this theatre or was connected to it somehow, who said why you would be an asset to that theatre and why you would be an asset to that writing program. I had 4 references that said that, all from people who had performed on that stage, one of whom had directed on it. I had help with my application because you have to have all those buzzwords and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent in one of my older plays, but a good play, and I did not even get shortlisted, right? and I think they had about 400 applicants, and they were shortlisting, I think, about 40 or 50 for an interview. And I thought, you cannot tell me of those other 400 people that applied, most of whom would have been under the age of 30, that they had produced and written and directed 14 plays on their own with no help from anybody at all, no proper funding, nothing. Got Time Out's Critics' Choice twice, got a Peter Brook Award, still grafting away, and I still don't have an institution backing me. I've never had that producer behind me, and I couldn't even get shortlisted with 4 references and the body of work that I had done for an interview on that course, and to be one of their writers. And you know why? Because my face did not fit, and that is where we're at, and my industry doesn't want me. So the only way I'm going to get anywhere with any of my creative projects is just by doing them on my own. I mean, one artist who I really respect, fantastic talent, who really broke through. And I mean, look, she ticks more boxes than I do, but she totally got there on merit. And that's Michaela Cole, who wrote that show, I May Destroy You.
Okay.
And her agent didn't get her that job. She got that job, and she pitched that show. And then her agent tried to take 15% or whatever for her fees. And she turned around and said, fuck off. You didn't do anything. You can take the percentages for the jobs that you put me up for. And so she fired them. And by the way, that agency has collapsed now, and it was one of the top 5 in the UK. So I really respect her, and I respect her work ethic, and she's done some incredible work. And you know, and she's a black female, sure, but she came from nowhere, working class background, and she grafted and fortunately there were some people that got behind her and gave her some opportunities, and rightly so, because she earned them, and she had the talent. So it does happen for people, but I think the problem is that the perception for me now is I'm on the scrap heap. I had my chances. For whatever reason, I didn't get them. Move on, you know. So, so this year with my creative energies, I'm focusing on stuff I know that I can achieve without help from anyone else. So mainly novels, stuff on my YouTube channel. But I'm not doing any productions because I don't want to do any more productions that are not properly funded, because they're always just really difficult. So Nosferatu, I promise to have a fresh shave next time before I come on. Just making a last comment.
Well, I do want to bring up, because we're coming up to 2 hours here. I do want to bring up the books that are.
I'm all right to keep going, so don't worry about the time.
This book is on Amazon.
1988,
A Journal of Lost Love, Films, and Friendship. I highly recommend getting this book. This one hits you right in the feels. It is a coming of an age story for the lead character, which is sitting right underneath me here, Lance. It's beautifully written. I really love the film critiques. I was expecting The Running Man in there somewhere, because I watched The Running Man out of honor for you last night, because it was 1987 on that movie.
It is in there. It is in there.
Is it in there? I didn't remember seeing that.
I saw it that year. I saw it on video in America. I know it, but if I left it off, that's an oversight.
I'll have to take another look, because I was
in the diary for sure.
Yeah, so I watched that in honor of you last night, and I had some laughs with it.
I actually really like that movie.
Yeah, me too. I love the 80 films. So
I mean, you know, the last 20 minutes of it is all very shoehorned and quick, but
yeah,
it's fun, you know.
That was Richard Dawson's last film, wasn't it?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Running Man, number 33 in the book on the 30th of June. So If you turn to the 30th of June,
Yep.
that's where it gets mentioned.
Yeah, you don't do a critique for it. There's
No,
no, I
I
don't have.
didn't do a review of it. I should do. Oh, I'll have to
Yeah,
update that.
that's what I mean. I was like, you mentioned, like, yeah, you mentioned, but you don't do a review for it. I was like,
I don't
what?
know why I
didn't see.
didn't. I don't know why I didn't do a review for it, because I certainly intended to.
Yeah,
And I think it's been asterisked as well, which means it should be yeah, it has. It should have been reviewed. Maybe the review of it's somewhere else, but anyway, okay. Well, I'll rectify that with the next edition.
yeah.
You should look at the reviews on the first Diamonds in the Sky book, because 1988, I think it's had one review.
Well,
And reviews,
I'm gonna add a review.
I appreciate that. Reviews are crucial. For
And of
Amazon.
course, you mentioned at the end of the book, you mentioned Nerdy Girl,
Retro Nerd Girl.
Yes, thank you, Retro Nerd Girl, Critical Drinker, and Copa Catania. You mentioned them in the end of the book as a thank you.
I gave them. Well, the book's dedicated to them, isn't it?
Yes, it's that. Yeah, which I thought that was really cool of you to do. Again, please go get this book. It's amazing. I really, really enjoyed it. I finished this in 4 hours. So,
Oh wow, man, that's
yeah.
I mean,
But
the first book I ever wrote is. Sorry, I know you probably want to wrap up, but
no. We got time. I just wanted to get this in before we
I
closed
mean,
out.
I may need to do at least another 2 wee-wees, but so my Diamonds in the Sky book, which is like I said, it was always destined to be a TV show. If you want to share.
Oh, I got that as well here. Let me bring that
Oh,
up.
okay. Well, you can pop it up.
Yeah,
But if you
it's
go
also
on
on Amazon.
so if you go onto Amazon.co.uk, that's where you can see all of the reviews. But it's got loads of great reviews, which is, I mean, I think I've got something like around 50 reviews, and 48 of them are 5 out of 5, you know, and some of them are from people I don't know, you know. So but it's a great story. It's about various characters all over the world and what happens to them when 200 of these alien ships arrive that look like that one on the cover of the book there. And they're like these giant spinning tops, and they drill down into the earth, and the top half stays above ground, and the bottom half disappears. And some of them are bigger than others, but they're all exactly the same shape. Now, the funny thing is, when they arrive, they're all of exactly the same mass, but when they land, they change. So some of them are bigger. So there's one of them that fills where the base of the Italian boot is in the geography of Italy. The Bay of Sorrento is called Bay of Sorrento. One of them fills the entire Bay of Sorrento, so you can walk on it from one side of the bay right over to the other side and step off it. And the one that lands in England lands in Scotland, just west of Aberdeen. And you follow the lives of, I think it's about 10 characters in the first book, who are all connected to these events for different reasons. And some of them are, like a camel trader from Chad, and one of them is the Prime Minister of the UK. So it's an invasion of giant dreidels. Yeah. I hadn't thought about it like that, but
Oh, nice. Yeah, so people go out there, buy this book as well. Lance, I love his writing style. I love what he brings to the table with his writing style, especially after reading 1988, such a beautifully done book.
Well, I mean, Diamonds is very different. It's
it's like actually story based, but
my first book, I wrote it 5 years earlier than 88, and it was my first novel, and I was really finding my feet, and I did a massive edit of it between the first and second edition. I really learned how to edit my own work. I mean, you should use an editor, but I couldn't afford it. I mean, I did have one initially, but so you have to be very brutal and like can I say this in 2 words instead of 200? I can. Good. Get rid of the other 198 words. So there's a lot of hacking like that going on. The second book is out as well. The Orphans of Babylon, that's out. And the third book, which is called All Over the World, named after the song by the band Electric Light Orchestra, which plays a key role in the book.
ELO. Oh,
yeah, wow. That song by ELO is a key thing that happens in book 3. That book I would like to get out by the end of this year, but I'm doing 2 other books which I feel I can complete. That one's going to be harder because I was still in my former relationship. Sorry, I meant to show you this picture. There you go. That's the second book. I was still in my former relationship when I started this book series, and I've been working on this film that went under. In fact, the producers all turned out to be con men, so they completely shafted us. And I lost a lot of money and a lot of time, and it was very stressful. And that was the beginnings of the end of my relationship. But I thought, hey, if I can, it was a bit naive of me, I suppose, but I thought if I can write a best-selling book, maybe I can dig us out of the hole that we have now found ourselves in. So the first 2 books came out, I think it was 2 years between each. The first one came out in end of 2016, second one was 2019. And I tried writing the third one, but I just completely lost my drive. It's not here, and I have all the story notes and everything, but I just can't seem to get into it at the moment. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to do a George R.R. Martin and come back to it later. Hopefully not as much later as George R.R. Martin. And it will get written, but I lost my muse. So because I lost my muse, this is the Diamonds in the Sky website. And there's quite a lot of information about the characters in the book. That's a great still, by the way. That's an actress called Faith who did that still for me. And tells you about the main characters and sort of a few other things. There's a biography for me, and I've also got my blog here, so you can read my blog about various things here. There you go. So that's where my blog is located.
Nice.
Is it worth mentioning the tweet? Probably is, because are you a fan of Gina Carano?
I am a fan of Gina Carano. I think what she did is courageous, and I think she got fired for the wrong reasons. And I think this cancel culture.
I think what happened to her was borderline illegal and criminal. Frankly, there's no other job where somebody can say something on Twitter, it can be misconstrued by people who are not even connected to those events and who are rallied up by somebody's whip, for want of a better phrase.
Well, I just look at what Green Day did the other night, and they're allowed to do that, but other people are not allowed to voice their opinions, and she got misunderstood. They took it away that shouldn't have. They should have had more conversations with her.
Well, at the end of the day, the bottom line is she was fired over Twitter, and she wasn't even told about it. And it doesn't matter how many conversations did or didn't happen. That's completely unacceptable. Anyway,
well, I find it funny that they come back. They come back and try to hire her.
So in a completely unconnected, totally not connected to the conversation we just talked about, I've got this novel coming out called The Tweet, which is about this actress called Nina Serrano, who is in this television franchise called Galaxy Wars, and she gets fired over an innocuous tweet. And it's a novel. It's completely fictional, definitely not based on anyone at all. And then there's also narratives in it from people like YouTubers, and so the scenes are not just in the book, the scenes are not just her perspective. There's also Big Cat Studios, who's the studio responsible for the franchise. You know, there's discussions with their studio executives about everything. And anyway, it's all about the rise and fall of the actress, but also the rise and fall of the studio because of how they treated the actress. So that's a completely fictional book that I'm working on at the moment. I hope it will be out before the end of the year. Yeah, that was going to be a play, but it's going to be a book.
Look forward to that. Of course, you have your YouTube channel, which again, you just left a 2-hour, 45-minute interview with Dennis McGuire, which was fantastic. I was really interested in that. I would love to be a part next time you have him on. I'd love to. I have some questions I'd love to ask him. But I'm sure
I hit 3,000 subs, and
I saw that was great too.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a maybe towards the end of this month. I'm gonna do a 3,000 subs celebration stream. So it'd be great if I could have you on that.
Absolutely, my friend.
I'll probably do
I would love to have you back on. I think I'm going to be doing a 2024 look into 2024 of shows and episodes that are coming into. I know Zach's is doing that tonight. I'll be on his show after this.
Yeah, I like Zach's.
Zach's is great.
But he streams too late for me.
Yes.
He's way late. He's way late.
I do the Blue Eye Samurai reviews on Thursday nights. That's too late for you as well. I will be doing Arcane next, weekly reviews on that with Andrew, Enzo, and amateur
Blue Collar Loser and whatnot, I think.
Yeah, but I'd love to have you back on. I really love this book. I love what you do. I was really excited to have you on tonight. And I want to thank you so much.
My pleasure. I'm sorry I'm not 100%, but
no worries, dude. You know what? I wish nothing but the best for 2024 for you. Is there anything you want to say before we kind of take off? What are you gonna be doing? Where are you gonna be?
So I've got another industry interview on my channel tomorrow at 7 p.m. UK time with a young up and coming director who I think is quite exciting, called Natalie Kennedy.
Nice.
That'll be about a 90-minute interview. It won't be a mega one because I don't think my voice will handle it. Then I've got a couple of specials coming up. I'm doing one on Masters of the Air. So I'm gonna do a review of every episode of that because I'm a massive Band of Brothers fan. I'm a big World War II guy. And as you can see, I've got a Masters of the Air hat on. I'm obliged to review it because I own the hat. I'm also doing a big review on the new version of Shogun.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Well, come on that, man, because I'd like to have a little bit of a panel on that. So
sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so you know, come on to that. I normally do a collaboration on Fridays with Retro Nerd Girl on her channel. She picks a topic, we talk about it, and because we're both into older films, you know, I love going on her channel. She's a lovely human being as well. What a lovely person. Yeah, we become really good friends, and I've made some. I think that the big takeaway from 2023 for me, because it gets very hard when you get older. To make new friends, and what you notice is all your old friends start dropping away, and it's not because they don't want to hang out. It's because, you know, they're in their 50s, they've got kids that have got problems, and they're dealing with mortgages, and some of them have moved away, and some of them have died, or they've got serious health issues. So you suddenly go from having this an inner circle of, let's say, 10 people, if you're lucky, and maybe a circle outside of that of another 20 or 30. So suddenly you realize there's only 3 of them around that you can actually see. And you know, I had to point out to one close friend of mine recently, we hadn't seen each other in 2 years, and they hadn't made any effort to contact me, and it was always me contacting them, and they were never calling me back. And I dropped them. I said, I'm deleting your number, see you later. And because I was quite upset, because I was quite close to them, I couldn't apologize more profusely, and got this big long email from them about all this shit that had happened I didn't know about, and they were going through this and they were going through. So, you know, it's not always personal. It's just that stuff happens. So I do find that even though I'm super busy and everybody always assumes I'm very busy, one of the things I really noticed in 2022 was, especially since I became single, was I was spending like loads of Friday and Saturday nights on my own. And in the UK, I don't know how it is in America. Well, I do, because I've been there. But you know, in most places, you can't just go down to a bar, especially if you're an older person, and start trying to kind of latch on to people and say, "Hey, let's hang out and chat about whatever. Let's chat about movies."
It's creepy as fuck.
Around like, who the hell are you crazy weirdo? So, of course, because people, you know, people go out in groups. They like to be. No one goes up and talks to the lonely-looking old man in a pub, do they? And I went to this pub on my own. It's just down the road from me. Not long after I was single, and I was sitting in there, and I had this epiphany moment, and it was a horrible moment, where I suddenly realised I was among the number of these sad-looking men that were sitting on their own, sipping on their pints. I don't drink.
It's like looking in the mirror, eh?
You suddenly realised you were part of that group.
Yeah.
Whereas before, you'd always been in a group with some friends and go, oh, look at that, who are those people with? They're not. So, so one of the things that's been great about YouTube is it's been a segue to some very real, tangible friendships with people who I've got passionate connections with about things that we love, like Thunderbirds and history and, you know, strategic games, or like my Lone Wolf books, or the TV series The Shield, or you know, the good Star Wars, the original 3 Indiana Jones films. You know, old films. I'm doing a stream with, I think it's the Gourd King, Michael Sierra, don't mention it. So I'm doing a stream on his channel, and we're doing our favorite movies from the 70s.
Nice.
And I just did a list. He said, you got to give me a list of 10. And I thought, 10 will be easy. And that was about 30 I wanted to put on that list.
Yeah.
You know,
French Connection, it has to be on there.
It is on there. French Connection is on there.
Yeah.
But there's also Willy Wonka came out in 1970. So, you know, so you're going to put that on there because that's a good one. Bridge Too Far's on there for me. You've also got Rocky.
That's my favorite movie all time.
Taxi Driver, Godfather, 1 and 2, Dog Day Afternoon, you know, Serpico, you know, Black Sunday. I mean, the list is endless. Carrie, you know, there's so many.
Oh, it's
so Halloween. I think Carrie's the only horror film I put on the list for me because that scared the bejesus out of me first time I watched.
Alien was 1980, but I thought it came out. I want to say 70. I want to say 79.
Alien got released most places in 79, but I think some people got it. I didn't see it until
80.
I saw it in 81, I think.
Yeah.
On a pirate video that was doing the rounds at school, you know, and it was all like dark and shit, and we could barely see anything. I was like, what's going on? But yeah, I was good. So I mean, listen, man, it was a good 70s, some great films.
Those were my favorite films. The 70s and 80s were my favorites, and then the early 90s. Like when I saw Reservoir Dogs, I love that movie.
I was at the first screening of Reservoir Dogs in the UK. Tarantino was there.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And I got up to leave, and he went, "Hey Bob, is that you? Thanks for coming." And I went, "No, it's Lance, but thanks very much." And great film, very gory. And I met him again at the UK screening of Pulp Fiction.
Another one of my
And people
favorites.
say I look like him, which is funny. It's the chin, you know.
Yeah, it's the chin.
It's the chin. It's the
You're better looking, bud. You're better looking.
Oh well, I
And
wish I had his
a better personality.
I wish I had his career. I don't listen. Quentin gets a lot of stick. He's an auteur. I didn't like all of his films, but I respect him, and I think he's done some truly amazing work. And you know, not everybody will like everything, but that's the nature of the business. You know, you can make 10 films, you won't find everybody, even your fans will not like all 10 of your films. So does Lance also love feet? No.
Oh, nice.
No.
Yeah, there's so many films in the 70s that I love. When Rocky's on, I always watch it. Doesn't matter where I'm at. Obviously Star Wars. Just trying to think of the 70s.
First Rocky film I saw at the cinema was Rocky 4. And that was the second film I saw in London's West End. The first was Legend. And that was when I was old enough to start coming up to the West End to see movies on my own. And Leicester Square, where all the big films, big screens,
I did
70 mil prints and all that.
I did watch the 78 Star Wars Christmas special this year. And
I've seen. I mean, I put myself through that quite a while ago. Never again.
I was like, oh, there's a reason why I didn't want to watch this. I was like, oh my god,
there's a reason why. There's a reason why none of the actors look remotely invested.
Yeah,
you know? They're all like, okay, they shot that before the box office numbers were in, I think, or it was still early days, you know. And,
was the Marathon Man in the 70s? I think this Marathon
79, I think.
Yeah, 79. That's another great one.
Yeah. Yeah. Oswald Tawny from Hello. Yeah, so you know, sorry, we went off on a big tangent there, but just the big takeaway from 2023 for me was really these new friendships that YouTubers afforded me. And the thing I like about it the most is doing the collaborations with people. I'm very lucky to have a couple of like quite big guns in my corner. You know, people like the Drinkers really looked out for me. And
never met him. I would love to have him on.
I've gone out drinking with him like 4 times now. It's all 4
wow.
occasions have been very entertaining. And he actually said that when I was on the channel I was on Open Bar, the last Open Bar. But I think it was before that. We did an interview with Paul Biddis about Napoleon, and that interview was going to be on my channel.
Nice.
Yeah, and I asked him if he wanted to come on, and he said, "Why don't we do it on mine? Because you'll get more subs that way." And I said, "Sure, yeah, I don't mind, because I've had Paul Biddis on before anyway, so it would have been the second time for me." So I was on anyway. One of the first things he said was, I think it was on that one, was, Lance, I just wanted to say to you, this is why we were live streaming. I've met you several times, and you're one of my best mods, and you're you know, you're every time I've met you in person, we've had a really good laugh, and those times have been really special. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. You know, he's a really good guy. He's a really good
well, that's what I hear.
Yeah.
And if he ever decides to watch this little wee channel of mine, I'm saying right now, I'd love to have you on interview. I've had numerous people on here. I've had a lot of, I don't want to say big names, but I've had a lot of, you know, that name YouTube names that are out there, and I've had a lot of creators on here, and I love keeping up with them and discussing, continuing that relationship. You know, keeping in touch, and so.
Him and Drunk 3PO were the 2 first YouTubers I ever followed. within a week of each other, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I followed Drinker first, because I wrote to Drinker straight away after I saw the Ghostbusters review, and I said, mate, this is gonna. I said, you're saying everything I can't about the industry. You know, we got to talk. And we met up not long after that. We met up within, I think, a year of that. Yeah, I've never done a stream with Drunk, and I've invited him on my channel many times. He's very aware of who I am. You know, and I was going to try and meet him when I was in Florida. I've met up with, it's funny, I've met up with several of Drinker's mods that he's never met. But I've met them. And I've met up with Lorena, and I've met up with from Positive Fandom. I've met them both in person. So, you know, then they do great stuff. So I'm still finding my feet with YouTube, but I'm loving the journey. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I can say this to you, Lance. Once I become friends with you, and Vex will back me up on this, Joe Sontag will back me up on this, Sean Aaron will back me on this, Kayla will back me up on this, Copa, Cannoli, I think Zach's would too. When I say I'll be there, I would be there. I mean when I say it. I'm very thankful of the people that I've met and I'm becoming close to, and I consider them good friends. Even D-Wig knows. What's up, D-Wig? Bow. I like continuing these relationships. I'm not just I'm not looking for clout. I don't care about clout. I just want to have conversations and have friends on and have even Platoon. I've had Platoon on my channel numerous times. Platoon is great.
Oh, he's so funny, man.
I love Platoon. Like every time I ask him, he's always he's super nice.
I'd love to have him on. But he's razor sharp. I mean, his wit, his wit and intellectual kind of precision with language. Yes. I could never even hope to deliver the way he does. His voice is just, I mean, he should be doing voiceovers and radio plays and
movie cynic.
I mean, if he was in a pub and he was speaking at a table next to me, I would know it was him straight away.
Yeah. I hope to meet these guys. I truly do.
I've seen a picture of Mauler. I know what Mauler looks like.
I've never met Mauler.
No, I've never met him, but I've seen a photo of him.
I would love to. I've seen Mr. Brown. I'd love to have him on.
I've seen him. Actually, I don't think he's been on my channel yet. He was supposed to be, but he had to cancel. He often streams at the same time as me, so or just after I've done one. So doing one stream after another generally is not a good idea.
But they're good people, and I would love
they're all good people.
And so are you. And closing this out, I always say, we've said this a couple times. Like, is there anything you want to say before we close this out?
Oh yeah, sorry. Let me rattle on for another 45 minutes.
Well, you know what? It's a great conversation. This is what I mean. Like we're having, we want to, continue the conversation. But
no, just thanks for having me on. Real pleasure. First time here. I hope it won't be the last.
It definitely won't be the last. I say
to people all the time, you're welcome on my channel anytime. Thanks, I don't even know how many subscribers you have. I haven't even looked. So
I'm over 600. I think I'm like 610.
Right, you'll hit a K fairly soon.
I'd love that. The numbers are great, and I do look at the numbers here and there. But to me, it's like I said, creating these relationships and talking, just similar to what you're saying, finding people to talk to about what we're passionate about. I love movies. I love comics. You mentioned comics in your book as well.
Yeah, I'm a massive graphic novel guy. I've got the entire collection of Walking Dead. I've got the entire collection of The Boys. The Watchmen was very influential. When I was first, treading into directing, I wanted to direct the Watchmen movie more than anything. And the sequence that I always had really clear in my head was not in the film. And it's the scene where the SWAT team break into the Owl's lair
Yeah.
And you've got that shot of a SWAT guy firing his M16 down the tunnel, and the owl ship is going out. And I had that whole scene choreographed in my head, and it probably would have been in the Terry Gilliam version, but his one got flooded and abandoned, and that production stopped. So yeah, but yeah, no, I do like comics. Let's do it. Yeah, that's a good stream you could come on. Me and Tomby are doing a stream about our top 5 favorite Judge Dredd stories from 2000 AD. Do you indulge in 2000 AD?
I do know some 2000 AD, and I will start dibble dabbling into that more. Get refreshed.
Well, mine are all going to be from the first 500 issues, because I think I probably read 2000 AD up until about Prog 650 or something. Maybe I don't know if Prog 1000, but they started getting some new artists in when they changed the paper. And for a while, there was that really zany artist that was drawing Nemesis, which was never a character I liked, I'll be honest. And they started doing Strontium Dog as well, and I couldn't get on with it. And that's when I stopped reading it, because it was so diametrically different from Alcazar, Carlos Alcazar and the old school boys.
Yeah,
that art style wasn't for me. Their style was very filmic, and I really liked.
Were you into Heavy Metal magazine at all then?
I glanced through the relevant sections, but no, I briefly was into heavy metal in about 1984, 85. I used to have a denim jacket with a massive Iron Maiden Number of the Beast.
Oh, yeah, my man. I love Iron Maiden. Yeah,
that era of Maiden. Like Run to the Hill.
I saw them with I've seen them numerous times. I've seen them like 7 times, but I saw them in the early 80s. I went to them. It was them, Judas Priest, Twisted Sister,
Breaking the Law.
Quiet Riot and Bon Jovi opened, and they got booed off the stage. It was great.
Bon Jovi opened and they got booed off.
They got booed off. They just had that 7800 Fahrenheit, that album.
Right. They were too soft rock for that lineup.
They're way too soft. Twisted Sister were unreal. They put on a great show. Quiet Riot was okay. But then you had Maiden and Priest, and it was just through the roof. So yeah.
Well, we can do music next time.
Yes.
My music taste is very, very eclectic, and
me too.
A lot of 80s pop, ELO, The Prodigy,
Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah, all of those.
Depeche Mode, I'm sure, is up there.
But just say thanks to people that have subscribed to my channel in 2023. Really appreciate the support. Getting to 3,000 subs was like a proper mission, and it felt really good to achieve that. And I'm just going to keep putting out good content. I've got loads of interviews lined up, so
awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, people, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to this man. This guy knows what he's talking about. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to come on here. I really, really enjoyed this conversation.
No problem. If you want me to put the link in for the channel.
I think Nos did. Nos put it in there. I also have it in the description. Yeah, Nos put it in there, and it's in the chat there, and it's also in the description. The one you sent me, I put it in there. Okay. So I just want to close off by saying thank you everyone in the chat. You guys were amazing. I always appreciate you coming on, taking time of your day to come watch us or listen to us. And if you are ever in the Winnipeg area, the 204 we call it, go check out Galaxy Comics on Henderson Highway. They have everything from the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age. They have it all. If they don't have it, my buddy Jeremy, the owner, he'll get it for you. Go check out Galaxy Comics on Henderson Highway. And if you are struggling with mental health, if you're feeling low, you're feeling like you need some kind of help, please reach out, talk to someone. strongly suggest talking to someone. We want you here on this earth. I know we're not here for a long time. We're here for a short time. Please talk to someone. And I don't care if it means even reaching out to me. I will answer it and, talk to you. So everyone, have a great week. Tomorrow night, I'll be on here. Actually, I'll be hopping on to Zach's in about 30 minutes or so. I'll be on that channel. We'll be talking about 2024 and the new shows and series that are coming out. Tomorrow night, I have Stupenzo and Amateur Analyst, and I think a guest with us tomorrow night for episode 7 review of Blue Eye Samurai. So come check that out. And once we're done with Blue Eye Samurai, we'll be doing Arcane. So if you watched Arcane, you love that series, come check that out as well.
Good show.
Great show. And so, again, thank you, Lance. Appreciate you, man. Everyone, please take care. Have a great night.